You may have heard about a proposal to increase the income tax threshold to $3.5 million per employed individual. I want to say to you that nothing is free. If you did that, that would cost twice the cost of the Spark program. It would mean that you would have to give up fixing 660 roads twice across Jamaica in order to pay for that. All right? If you don't want to give that up, then what else would you give up? Water, hospital, what we spend on the police, use murders. These are all questions that every well-thinking Jamaican must ask. We as a government have been able to increase spending on road, water, healthcare, education, and national security. And we have managed to do that without increasing the debt. If you increase the debt, you're going to have to pay it back. And if you have to pay it back, you have to pay it back from somewhere. And that means they will ask you for more taxes. We have come to you with 10 budgets actually, and we have not asked you to pay any new taxes. I want you to consider that. And that is because we have been very careful that the things that we promise you and the things that we spend on are things that won't come back to put burdens on you. I ask all well-thinking Jamaicans, we have gone through a difficult time a decade ago. We all sacrificed to put in place something called fiscal discipline. That means good management of the economy. Do not let it go to waste over stupid promises.
Man, this ain't a storyline, it's the hard truth. Mark Golding's $3.5 million tax threshold in the very next fiscal year, paid for only by organic growth. That's asking Jamaica to run a sprint at Olympic speed when we've barely learned to jog again.
Yeah, and I wanted to believe in it. I wanted to think we could just grow our way into it. But here's the math. We'd need around 7-8% real growth in 1 year to cover an $80 billion hole. Our average lately? 1 to 2%. That's like asking a farmer to plant once and magically reap 4 harvests in a season. Nature and economics don't work that way.
Exactly. And here's the killer. If the growth doesn't hit right away, that $80 billion gap has to be patched by spending cuts or debt. And that means the very same people this policy is supposed to help could lose services they depend on. It's like giving a man a bigger house key while quietly selling off the walls.
Or like tearing down the lifeboats and the ship to throw a party on deck in the middle of hurricane season. It might look bold, but if the storm hits, there's nowhere to run.
So we are agreed. It's not about not wanting people to keep more of Jamaicans' money. It's about not gambling the stability we fought tooth and nail to build. The promise feels good now, but the crush later could be brutal.
Jamaica, be wise. Don't let political sweet talk cloud the reality. A promise without a plan big enough to back it isn't hope. It's a gamble with your future. Stability takes years to build, but only one bad bet to break. Don't be tricked by political ditty-rat-tat.
No, the GLP plan is more feasible. They are reducing the income tax from 25 to 15%. But it may be fears by fears, so go with the GLP.
If it was Lisa Hanna or Damian Crawford, I would say yes, you can follow what your ancestors did. Your ancestors had leaders like Norman Manley. Those are exemplary people. So yes, they are supposed to be PNP. Nothing is wrong with that. But to have a leader like this, no, and you're still running up and down about you're diarted. You not have a good leader, so what you mean you're diarted? We need to focus on the future of Jamaica, not what happened 10 years or 100 or 50 years ago.
I came into the Because although I came into the party through Dr. Omar Davis, because I knew him in the financial sector, where I had been like one of the leading corporate lawyers in Jamaica and very involved in financial engineering. And so when he was Minister of Finance, a lot of the things that required industry input, I was one of the representatives of the industry that he would deal with. I got to know him through that. And that's how I got into the PNP, really, through my relationship with him. I had no role in FinSat whatsoever. I was in the private sector there. I was an attorney at law, and I was involved in business as well. So, you know, that was an environment we all had to navigate who were in the sector at that time.
So, Mr. Damien Crawford sent out a question last night during the debate asking, has anyone received laptops? Because him the seat, right? Basically, that's what I say. And I saw a teacher in a comment section and she's saying she's seen children who received laptops. And people are basically saying that she's lying. Well, I can say I am one of those parents who got called by my children's high school. I have two children who attend two separate high schools, and I was called by both schools. One of my child received a laptop, one of my child received a tablet. And a good quality something them get. And I know that I wasn't the only parent who got called from the schools to come in with your pass slip and sign and collect your child's device. Some of you just lie, refuse to be honest, and that is a big problem. Enough of you just lie, very lie, and refuse to talk the truth. Whether you know a PNP or JLP, it not take nothing for you to say, my child got a device. Nothing not take for you to say that. Nothing not take for say, my child received a device from their schools. Because I know I could not be the only parent that St. Catherine High School called and Tatius Golden High School called. Many of you got the call to come and pick up your child device. Mighty God, on a wicked.
Yo, Mark G, come here. Because you need to stop tell the people them lie. And stop pretend like say people in the outside world don't know the rights. You're a British fucking citizen, bro. You're a citizen of the United Kingdom. You cannot and will never get a United Kingdom visa in a Jamaican passport. You will never get that. That will never happen. You get what me I say? Stop, come up, brother, and tell people lie, brother, man. Come on, man. The lie them wanna tell too much lie, brother. Every minute the lie them I catch up on one, catch up on one, catch up on one. The lie them need to stop me done, man. You're a British citizen, you have a British passport, you cannot get a British visa. You cannot. Like I'm an American citizen, tell me if I go to the American embassy, go tell them, say, with my Jamaican passport, say I need a Jamaican visa. Brother, you cut out the blood clot fucker and lie now, brother.
Madam Speaker, raising the income tax threshold is the policy of this government. Very easy. Oh, I don't want. No, we did it, Madam Speaker, sustainably before, and we'll do it in a way that is sustainable again. Now, Madam Speaker, we've run the numbers, and I wanted to share, because we're having this conversation without the cost and the numbers. It don't make sense to have a conversation without cost. Yeah? When you hear me talk about the threshold, I talk with cost. Right? Madam Speaker, increasing the threshold, this is just a data provision section. Please, I'm just providing data. Increasing the threshold from 1.5 million to 2.1 million would cost approximately $23.6 billion. Improving the threshold, Madam Speaker, for 1.5 billion to 1.5 million to 2.5 million would cost approximately $34.6 billion. Increasing the income tax threshold from 1.5 million to 3 million, Madam Speaker, would cost over $45 billion. Now, Madam Speaker, these are huge, huge numbers. It stands to reason that, we've never had any measure, any single measure, Madam Speaker, that results in a net reduction, meaning that you give up taxes of that magnitude. When we increased the tax threshold from 592,800 to 1.5 million, as I mentioned earlier, it was done in a revenue neutral way. And, Madam Speaker, though what is often forgotten is that social spending was materially increased, as documented in IMF reports at the time, which anybody who cares to look can see, that nearly 0.8%, nearly 1% of GDP at the time in social, go back and look at it. I don't want to quote it and get it wrong. But it was a material increase in social spending. Madam Speaker, my style is total transparent and tell you the facts as they are. The Financial Administration, Audit and Administration Act requires that Jamaica pursue a fiscal balance, meaning the difference between revenues and expenditure each year that is derived from a formula written into the law, which produces a result for that year consistent with the debt target that's set in the law. When there is a negative deviation from that fiscal balance target, that same law, the Financial Administration Audit Act, requires a correction in that subsequent year. During COVID, Madam Speaker, the deviation was so large when we escaped the rules that we had to amend the law to say, look, we can't do a correction in 1 year. We have to do it over 3 years. Yeah, that's to phase it in. No, the thing about it is that when the rules are set for that, that correction is set at that time. And you have to complete those 3 fiscal years and then recalculate. Right? That is in the law of Jamaica. I happened to be in the Senate when it was first passed, and I remember our discussion at the time. Well, you said to me, good thing that you understand the formula. I don't know if you remember that. It's in Hansard. Yeah, well, you said it. You said to me, good thing that you understand it, because it's the only law in Jamaica where there's a formula in the back. And in my contribution at Senate debate in 2014, I stood up and I explained the derivation of the formula. Yes. Yeah. So, and that's also true. Madam Speaker, the amended law allowed for deviations beyond a particular threshold, as I said, to take place more gently over 3 years. That was an amendment. So we are in the 3rd year of that correction period. And the FAA Act requires, meaning this upcoming fiscal year, 24-25, is the 3rd year. And it requires that our expenditures, our revenues do not exceed our expenditures, which means that we don't borrow to pay interest. So, Madam Speaker, given the estimates of expenditure tabled in Parliament and the details announced so far today, which our projected revenues just about meet, it's not feasible to accommodate a net expenditure of these magnitudes this year and still stick within the ambit of our laws. Madam Speaker, even if we could increase income tax threshold by these amounts without any accompanying measure, with a net cost to the public purse of between 23 billion and 45 billion, we'd have to think carefully about the distribution of who benefits. Because, Madam Speaker, it's important to recall an income tax threshold of 1.5 million is equivalent to 28,800 a week. Madam Speaker, Jamaica's per capita GDP at 7,000 US is approximately 1.1 million at prevailing exchange rate. So it shouldn't be a surprise that 70% of persons who are contributing to the system, either through statutories or otherwise, or approximately 450,000 Jamaicans on the tax database, have incomes below the income tax threshold, and as a result do not pay any personal income tax. So spending $20 billion to $45 billion on a net basis to raise the threshold as per above would not benefit a single one of these Jamaicans on the lower end of the spectrum.